Hello all, welcome to week 4. I hope your essays are coming along well. Today we're talking about is this that you see on your screen right now, the tipping point essay structure. I've just got a couple things to go over before we get to that, but hopefully if you have any questions about this, we'll be able to answer them today. As I hope most of you noticed, I did change the due date on this essay from June 1st to June 4th. That just gives you over the weekend to get it done because because I'm sure you were busy and I was too over Memorial Day weekend. I was just able today to get to your proposals, which mostly looked good, so that was good. So yeah, if you have questions about anything that I wrote in your proposal, please email me back. Email me at my address, as I've said before, russ.beck@usu.edu. That's the quickest way to get back to me. Okay. Okay. I haven't gone over your journals from last week yet, or your blogs. My pardon, your reading blogs from last week yet. I will get to that tomorrow. So that's Wednesday, the 30th. So if you haven't had yours done yet, that's why. I will also be getting the quiz up a little bit later, hopefully tonight, but it may be as late as tomorrow for the readings this week. But no panic there. If you just get when you see the quiz, go ahead and take it. So, okay, I want to remind you about revisions. If you're not happy with, I've read all of the essays that I was able to find for the object essay. So if you received a 0 or no score on your object essay, that means I haven't been able to find it, or it means that you didn't do MLA. Okay, make sure you get if you did receive a 0 on something that you turned in to me, make sure you go back and redo the MLA so you can get full credit for that essay. It is a 0 until I get the MLA, so make sure that happens. And also, of course, it's a 0 if I haven't been able to find it yet. If it wasn't loaded to Google Docs properly, or if it wasn't loaded to Google Docs, period. Whatever the case may be, know that, yeah, I don't have it if you currently don't have a score on your essay. So be sure to get those back. I wanted to briefly tell you about the comments on your essays. Hopefully they are helpful. That's the main goal for this. When I was a student, I remember I received a paper back from a teacher, and it looked like she hadn't read it. I looked everywhere for comments, and then finally on the last page below my works cited page, she wrote 3 times, "I hate this, I hate this, I hate this." It didn't even have a grade or anything like that, and so my goal as a teacher has to always been to improve on the "I hate this, I hate this, I hate this" comments. But if you ever have a question about anything I've written about on your essay, please don't hesitate to ask. Otherwise, those comments are useless. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then they don't serve a purpose. So be sure to ask me if you have any questions about any of those things. So. Yeah, so that's it for the object essay. I want to remind you again to not take the scores that I gave you and turn them into a percentage, because that's not how I grade. Remember to look at the syllabus for my grading scale, which is there. I'm not going to go over it again right now, but that number between 1 and 5 correlates with the grade. That's how I'm going to figure out your final grades as well. So if you transfer it, or if you do a percentage, it's going to make you panic, and don't do that. I do this just because it's easier for me to grade and it makes more sense to me. So those are all the announcements for that. If you have any questions, once again, please do email me, and I'll try and get back to you as quickly as possible. I do get back to you quicker if you email me directly to my USU account instead of interacting through Canvas. But I mean, you're welcome to do either. It just might take a little bit longer. Okay, so today what I wanted to talk about is the structure of this tipping point essay. And as you can see here, I've kind of laid it out into shapes, and by the end of this lecture, we will have gone over each one of these shapes, and hopefully that will help. I think this essay can be fairly simple if you go about it right. And I think structuring it is the big problem that a lot of students run into. If you'll notice, I hope that some of you can recognize that this does look a little bit like a 5-paragraph essay, and I know that many of you might know, you might not know, and if you don't, that's fine. The 5-paragraph essay is kind of a hiss and a byword among composition instructors. I actually don't think it's that evil. I think it can be useful. But if you'll notice, this triangle usually represents an introduction. These usually indicate the body paragraphs. In this introduction, you have a thesis statement indicated at the very end here, the very end of the introduction, with three reasons why. And then these 3 reasons are usually addressed in the body paragraphs here, and then you have a conclusion. Okay, so I'm trying to build off of that 5-paragraph essay and give you something that's manageable and so you can understand, but obviously I have many more shapes than just those original 5. I've got this circle that's going to represent something, this guy here, and this guy up here. So I've changed it a bit, but I'm trying to build off of something that you would already know. Okay, so let's just go ahead and go down each one of these things and discuss it. I would invite you each to go back and look at the essays that we've read and the essays we're reading this week, and look at how they've addressed this structure, because all of them have in one way or another, and I'll discuss that a little bit today. But if you're really struggling with the structure or how to actually even approach this essay, that's the best advice I can give you, is to go back and look and see what other people have done. So let's go ahead and keep on moving on this, and like I said, we'll discuss examples as we go. So the first square up here that I'm going to show you is what I'm going to call the sexy intro, or intro to the topic, basically. And what this is it should be something that's grabbing, or something that's interesting to your audience that will keep them reading. I once read an entire book that I actually hated because I loved the first page of the book. It can go a long way. And so you're looking for those things that you think your audience is going to find really interesting. I want to give you a couple of examples from the text that we've read. If you look at the... give me just a second. There we go. If you look at the clown essay, she has this, I mean, sexy is the wrong word for this, but it's certainly engaging, and it's certainly something that will keep you reading. She has the introduction of her topic by, these extreme cases of violence. It's compelling, and that keeps you reading. And it does a successful job of introducing her topic, which was the transformation of clowns. That's the kind of thing you're looking for, something that's going to grab the attention of your reader and keep them reading. If you look at Blotter's essay, he goes in and talks about the cuter, I think is how you say it. I'm not hip to the kids' lingo. I have no idea. But the keyboard that was very popular for a while. So yeah. He has, I think actually his introduction is really pretty interesting and works pretty well. But it does a successful job of introducing you to the topic, but it doesn't necessarily introduce you to the to his argument yet, and it doesn't have to. I think that's asking too much of the introduction, and that's why I've kind of broken it into 2 things. So the first thing should be a sexy introduction to the topic, but the second section should be an intro to the thesis or the argument. And notice this one correlates most closely to the introduction to the 5-paragraph essay. And the idea with the triangle is that you're meant to start off broad and then slowly narrow it down to something specific. And in this case, your something specific is going to be your thesis. And if you recall from last week's work that we did, the thesis for these should be X community changed dramatically when A, B, and C occurred. Okay? And that's, I assume most of you are going to be doing something like that. Okay. The thing that I saw the most, that I was the most concerned about with the proposals was that, 2 things. One thing, the first thing that I want to talk about is that you've got to make sure your time is condensed. I'm not looking for history papers on these. I'm looking for tipping point papers, meaning I want you to get in there and just show me specifically a small snippet of time. Remember that Gladwell defined it as something that happens relatively quickly. So in this intro or thesis, you got to show that time happening relatively quickly. The other thing that I worry about is make sure your community is well defined and that you can show that there is a dramatic change. Okay, so your community was this way at one time and then it changed into something else. Okay, this is actually going to go kind of with the next shape here, which I'll just introduce now, which is the context for the topic. Okay, now depending on how familiar your audience is with whatever it is that you're discussing, will depend on how long this context for the topic actually is. You need to just establish that that you're on the same page as your reader with the context for the topic. I once had it explained when you're writing argument essays to think that you're to pretend like you're presenting your information to the world's most brilliant eighth grader, and I've always really liked that. And so they will have a basic understanding probably of what your topic is. I'm just thinking of some of the ones that I read today. They'll understand what Catholic schools are. If they haven't gone to one, they'll know that they do exist, but they probably don't know too much more about that than that. The other one that I'm just on the top of my head, one of the last ones I read was about atheism. They will be familiar with the definition of atheism, but they won't probably know much about the different movements in atheism, and so that's where you would provide context for that. Okay, so this should be brief. I usually don't want to see more than a page on the context. Otherwise, they'll end up taking over your entire essay, and it will read more like a history essay than a tipping point essay. Okay, the next section are these viruses. Okay, now these viruses are the things that you actually mentioned most likely in your thesis statement up here. Okay, so X community changed when A, B, and C occurred. A, B, and C are usually viruses. Okay, make sure that they're all relating back to your tipping point. There's always a definite reason why we're discussing them. The majority of your essay should be a discussion of these viruses. Okay, if you do it right, that'll be fine, and it'll work out really well. Okay. The next section that I want to discuss is the actual tipping point itself. Okay. This is where you go in and you actually explicate and state, okay, this community, as we can see, it was established over here, changed dramatically when these viruses took effect and enacted this change. Once again, sometimes this is going to be kind of self-evident. Sometimes this is going to feel like you're recapping your thesis statement, and if you are, then these sections can be a little bit scant. But sometimes you need an actual space to discuss what you're defining as the tipping point itself, and this is the opportunity to do that. So go ahead and do that there. And then the last section is the conclusion / forecasting. Okay, the best way I can see you concluding these essays is by kind of taking a step back and looking at where the tipping point is, or where your community is now. Okay, so once again, just going back to the proposals I just read, you could so looking at the Catholic schools, you could say, okay, the current state of Catholic schools is this. But then you can take a moment and, because you've done the research and you are an expert on whatever your topic is, you can actually take some time and forecast where you see your topic, or where you see your community going in the future. Yeah, and I think those can be sometimes very interesting. If you look to the readings once again, you will notice that most of these did follow. They followed this pattern pretty well. I would suggest, just to kind of help you out, going back and looking at them and actually trying to chart them, and even drawing these shapes out to the sides of paragraphs just to see how well they actually followed this pattern, because they did. The clown essay in particular, I think, follows this really well. It has its own problems, but structurally, it's one of the most sound essays I've had turned into me for this essay. So feel free to go back and look at that. I think it does a good job of it. That's it for this week. That's all I'm going to discuss. If you have any questions, once again, please do email me, and I'll get right back to you. I hope these essays are coming out well. I'll have all of our information, all of our assignments up shortly, if I don't already. And I hope you're having a good week. I'll look forward to reading these essays soon. Thanks. Bye.